Breaking news for anyone waiting on stimulus checks or wondering what's really happening with your money right now. November 7th could change everything, and if you're not paying attention, you might be left wondering where your next dollar of relief is coming from. The truth is, something major is about to unfold that could determine whether new stimulus payments are even possible, and it's happening sooner than most people realize. I know you've seen the rumors, the clickbait, and the fake announcements claiming checks are going out next week, but this isn't that. This is about the one piece of government data that actually decides when relief money moves, and it's about to drop in just days. So if you're on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, unemployment, or you're just trying to keep up in this economy, you need to hear what's coming. But don't worry, I've got you covered. This channel is made only for you, the people who depend on real information, not rumors, so you can plan ahead, stay protected, and avoid being blindsided. So stick with me for the next few minutes, because by the end of this, you'll understand exactly what November 7th means for your wallet, your benefits, and your peace of mind. My name's Laura, and for the past 15 years, I've been helping retirees, veterans, and everyday Americans navigate the maze of federal benefits and relief programs. I read the fine print so you don't have to. I follow every report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Social Security Administration, and the Congressional Budget Office, because hidden inside those numbers are the clues to what's coming next. And right now, all eyes are on one date, November 7th. That's when the government releases something called the Non-Farm Payroll Report, or what most people just call the Jobs Report. It's one of the most powerful indicators in the entire economy. When those numbers show strength, lawmakers hold back. When they show weakness, stimulus discussions start moving fast. According to the latest estimates, about 68 million Americans are currently relying on federal benefits, and more than half say they can't keep up with rising costs. So this next report could determine whether Washington starts talking about direct relief again, or whether they say, you're on your own. Now imagine this. You're already behind on your bills. You've stretched your grocery money as far as it'll go. You're watching gas prices rise, rent go up, and your savings shrink. Then you turn on the news and hear, the economy is strong, but it doesn't feel strong to you. You wonder, if things are so great, why am I struggling just to stay afloat? That disconnect between the headlines and your real life, that's exactly what these reports expose. Picture this scenario. You're waiting for your monthly check to cover rent, and suddenly there's talk of delays, benefit reviews, and no new stimulus. You panic, wondering if you miscalculated or if something changed without warning. You check your bank app every morning, hoping the deposit hit. Nothing. That kind of uncertainty is devastating. It's not just about numbers, it's about survival. Whether you can keep the lights on, fill your prescriptions, or put food on the table. That's why November 7th matters. Because what's buried inside that report could trigger the chain reaction that leads to relief, or delay it even longer. Here's the truth that most people don't want to say out loud. Stimulus checks don't come from public demand. They don't come from petitions or phone calls to Congress. They come from economic pain. Every single time the economy slows down, every time unemployment rises, every time data shows contraction, that's when lawmakers act. They don't respond to emotion, they respond to numbers. When the economy itself starts struggling, stimulus gets approved. But when the data looks healthy, even if millions of people are barely hanging on, nothing moves. That's the frustrating part. It's backwards, it's unfair, but that's how the system works. And right now, those economic warning lights are starting to flicker. Inflation is still eroding buying power. Weekly jobless claims have been creeping higher. Companies are quietly freezing hiring. And according to preliminary data, the unemployment rate could edge up again in this next report. If that happens, it adds pressure on the Federal Reserve and Congress to respond. Let me break down exactly how this works, because it's easy to get lost in the jargon. The non-farm payroll report tracks how many jobs were added or lost in the previous month. It also shows unemployment, labor participation, and revisions to previous months. If businesses are hiring, the numbers look positive. If they're laying people off, it signals slowdown. And those revisions, Those are huge, because sometimes the government quietly lowers past numbers, revealing that things were weaker than they originally appeared. That's when the story changes. If November's report shows a rise in unemployment, a drop in labor participation, or big negative revisions, that's the kind of signal policymakers can't ignore. They won't say, "We're in a recession," because that would cause panic. Instead, they'll use softer words like, "the economy is cooling," or "we're seeing some softness." But make no mistake, those are code words. They mean trouble is brewing, and stimulus discussions are already happening behind closed doors. Now, let me make this personal for a minute. Last year, my own mother, she's been on SSDI for 3 years, called me in tears because she thought she missed a payment. She had heard someone online say checks were delayed nationwide. She panicked, thinking her benefits were gone. I had to walk her through the calendar, show her the actual release schedule, and explain that her payment was fine. But that moment stuck with me, because it showed how much fear misinformation causes. So if you've ever felt that same panic, you're not alone. Sarah, one of our viewers from Ohio, emailed me last week saying she's living on disability and a part-time job that just cut her hours. She asked, "Tony, do you think we'll ever get another relief payment?" And I told her the same thing I'll tell you now. It depends entirely on what these reports show. Not the headlines, not the politics, but the data itself. That's why I track it every month, so you can focus on surviving, not decoding the fine print. And to everyone watching right now, let me pause for a second to say something important. I know this information can feel heavy. It's stressful to hear that everything depends on economic data and decisions you can't control. But that's exactly why you should subscribe and stay connected here. Because I'll be here every week breaking down the truth, cutting through the noise, and helping you see what's really coming before it hits. Think about it. Wouldn't it feel safer knowing someone's watching these reports for you, translating the numbers into plain English, so you're never caught off guard again? That's what this channel is for. It's not about hype. It's about protection, preparation, and peace of mind. I'm not saying this for me. I'm saying it for you, because when the next decision drops, you'll want to understand it, not scramble to react to it. So here's my advice, spoken from experience. Stop waiting for a miracle. Don't plan your month around the idea of a check that hasn't been approved yet. Make decisions based on what's real today. Start by tracking the data yourself. It's free. Every Thursday, the Labor Department releases weekly jobless claims. Every first Friday of the month, you get the jobs report. Read those numbers, even briefly. If you see unemployment rising and job growth shrinking over several months, that's when relief becomes more likely. Until then, use every existing resource available. Apply for SNAP benefits if you qualify. Check your state's emergency rental or energy assistance programs. Many states have quietly reinstated their own relief funds for 2025. Build a small cushion if you can. $10 a week adds up. It's not easy, but it's powerful. That small bit of control helps you breathe easier when everything else feels uncertain. And if or when new stimulus comes, you'll be ready to use it strategically, not desperately. Here's something else people overlook. Stimulus doesn't always mean direct checks. Sometimes it shows up as expanded tax credits, extended unemployment, or one-time energy rebates. So even if you don't hear the word stimulus check, that doesn't mean relief isn't coming. It might just take a different form. That's why it's so important to pay attention to the details of any economic package announced after these reports. Lawmakers rarely frame it as stimulus. They call it targeted support, cost of living relief, or temporary assistance. But the effect is the same: money back in your pocket when the economy needs it most. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, those job numbers directly affect how long benefits last, whether extensions are approved, and whether new aid programs open up. Now let's zoom out for a second. Why does this keep happening? Why do ordinary people have to wait for economic pain before relief arrives? The answer lies in how the system measures success. Officials look at national averages, not local struggles. They see job growth in one sector and assume everyone's doing fine, even when millions are still behind on rent. And banks, the Federal Reserve and Treasury, all move based on macro data, not human stories. That's why the best defense you have is knowledge. Because once you understand that pattern, you can stay one step ahead of it. You'll know the signs to watch for, the language officials use when trouble's brewing, and the timing that historically leads to new aid packages. For example, the 2020 stimulus came right after 3 straight months of job losses. The 2021 relief followed a surge in unemployment. History repeats itself, just with different names and dates. So when you hear politicians say, "We're monitoring the situation," that's your cue. They're watching the same indicators I am. If November's data looks weak, December's headlines will start shifting toward targeted relief. It might take weeks or months, but that's how it begins. Until then, control what you can. Keep records of every benefit you receive. Review your payment schedules. Double-check your direct deposit info with the SSA or your bank. Scammers love moments like this. They impersonate agencies, send fake texts, and promise early stimulus access. Don't fall for it. No real government program will ever ask for upfront fees or gift cards. Protect your personal info, and remember, clarity is your best defense. Honestly, I know this all feels exhausting. You're tired of hearing maybe. You want straight answers. You want to know when help's coming. And I get it. But here's the thing. Being informed doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. When you understand the triggers behind these decisions, you're not a victim of rumors anymore. You're ahead of them. The people who prepare, who learn how this works, are the ones who come out stronger. So stay with me, stay alert, and stay hopeful. But stay realistic. Because the truth is, the system moves slowly, but it moves predictably once the signs line up. Now let's talk big picture. November 7th isn't a magic switch, it's one data point in a chain, but it's a big one. If it shows significant weakness, we move one step closer to relief discussions. If it shows strength, we wait a little longer. Either way, knowing what it says puts you ahead of the curve. That's why I'll be watching that report line by line and breaking it down for you the same day it drops. Because when the economy finally comes knocking, when those indicators flash red, lawmakers will act. Not because they want to, but because they have to. And when that happens, you won't be confused. You'll understand exactly why and how it's unfolding. So let me leave you with this thought. What would it mean to you if you never had to wonder about stimulus or benefit payments again? If you knew the real timeline, the signs, and the triggers? That's what this channel is here to give you. Clarity, security, and peace of mind. I know it's been a hard few years. Prices are high, stability feels out of reach, and the waiting never seems to end. But we've made it this far together, and the more informed you are, the stronger you'll be when the next wave hits. November 7th won't decide everything, but it will tell us where we're headed next. So keep your head up, keep watching the data, and don't lose hope. The system might not prioritize us, but we prioritize each other. Because when the economy finally demands relief, that's when help moves, and you'll already be ready. That's the truth. Stay informed, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.